Yippee-Ki-Yay, mother.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to Yippee-Ki-Yay Classic. How's it going, everybody?
Good.
Hi, Ralph.
Good week. All right. First week without Wojo and Brad feels a little funky, but we'll try to get through it. We'll muddle our way through.
Yes.
This is a classic. So Drew brought a film to the table. I'm Ralph Quatrucci, by the way.
I'm Sean Paul Murphy.
I'm Debbie Murphy.
I'm John Quatrucci.
I'm Drew Gould.
And I'm Chris Coker.
All right. We got through the introductions. That's nice. I almost forgot.
I didn't think we were going to.
I almost forgot. Yeah. You know, I got caught up with the Wojo and Brad.
Well, you're thinking about the wheel. That's why.
All right, but like I said, Drew is going to bring the movie tonight. We won't mention it until we know what it is based on the title.
You already did, but that's okay.
Yeah. But we'll do a little round of what you watch. So let's start with John. What'd you watch this week?
Okay, well, I watched for the first time ever. I've only seen clips from it. Barbarella with Jane Fonda.
Oh, I saw that was on our.
Never seen it. I've only seen clips from it. Now, I've never done drugs in my life. I think it's a movie that you have to do drugs to watch to really appreciate it. But I will say, I do not like Jane Fonda. I think she's a horrible human being. She was smoking in that movie. She was gorgeous.
That's big of you.
The way they shot her husband Vadim did it. What a weird, crazy, psychedelic, obviously late 60s movie. But it was, I watched the whole thing. It was tough to get through because it was so off the wall and goofy. But I'm glad I finally got to see it. Jane Fonda, she was gorgeous back then. Whoa, she was gorgeous. So anyway, that's what I watched.
So do you recommend it?
If you want psychedelic 1960s cinema, I would absolutely watch this movie because it was a prime example of it. You know, it was nuts. It was nuts.
Right. Oh, good.
Yeah.
You know, a little side note to that. The 80s band Duran Duran took their name from the villain. Duran Duran in Barbarella. It's based on a French comic book, actually.
Yes.
I didn't know
that.
Steely Dan also take their name from Barbarella, or at least a comic.
Oh, really? I have done
based on a comic book that far back. Wow.
Yeah. Well, it was a graphic. Was it a comic book? It was more of it was a French graphic. I guess it was a comic book, but it was
a comic book. Yeah.
But it wasn't like a U.S. comic book at all.
No, it was French.
Yeah.
Well, I own it on Laserdisc. And
have you watched it?
No, but I also own all the Jane Fonda workouts on Laserdisc as well.
Those he does.
So that shows how much I like Jane.
Oh, wait
Fonda.
a minute, Clute. That's right. I keep forgetting.
She's the jam. Always
I'll
been.
tell you. And Barbarella. Oh my God.
I just mean as an actress, you know.
Oh yeah. She was great in Barbarella. What an actress.
Yeah. Okay. Drew, what'd you watch?
So this week, I dove back into, and I really dove back in because once I started watching, we couldn't stop. A show that I had watched when it was on CBS, The Good Wife.
Oh yeah, I love that show.
I had watched the first 4 seasons, and then I don't know why. I mean, who knows? Various things happen. You don't remember to go back. So I never watched the rest of the show. So we sat down and we started watching the 5th season, and we're almost finished the 5th season. I think we started last week or last weekend or something. And I mean, it's just such a smart, amazing show. And I knew that a certain character was going to leave the show in the season. I didn't know how that was going to happen. And it was pretty devastating and really well done. And that made me turn to the show that had, the reason I got into The Good Wife was because we started watching The Good Fight, which is the spin-off show starring Christine Baranski's character, which is much more explicitly political. And throughout the entire run of the series so far, every season has dealt with the real things that are happening in the news, in various political events, and the insurrection, all this different stuff. And it's really incredibly well done. And then the other show that the same people do, Robert King and Michelle King, came back, and that's called Evil. And Evil is a fantastic show. And if The Good Fight is all about politics, Evil is all about religion. And the episode that came back this week, they took a break for about a month, I guess, was completely silent, took place in a monastery, and it was fantastic. So anything that Robert King and Michelle King do at this point, I'm in. And The Good Wife has been fun to visit, and there's more Good Fight and more Evil coming. So if you like really good prestige looking television, that's really, really good writing and smart.
Good Wife has a great cast too. Great,
amazing acting, amazing. It must be.
Are they all on? Are they on network? Or are they on streaming stuff?
Well, everything is on CBS. Well, not CBS All Access. Everything is on Paramount Plus now. So,
okay.
Evil was a CBS show that moved to Paramount Plus. The Good Wife was just a CBS show that's now on Paramount Plus. And The Good Fight was one of the first original shows that that they had when they launched the CBS All Access, which is now Paramount Plus. Like they had Star Trek Discovery, and they had The Good Fight going for some bigger brand stuff. And I've been watching a lot more Paramount Plus than I thought I was going to. So that's kind of fun.
Cool. Excellent. Chris, what do you got?
I also started watching this is a brand new TV show. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's on Hulu, FX on Hulu, whatever that means. It's Reservation Dogs. It's basically about a story of about 4 young Native American folks in Oklahoma, and their teenage life and kind of how things are going. And they're definitely kind of on that edge of being criminals. The opening sequence is them stealing like a guy's snack truck and then selling it to a bunch of meth heads. But then they made a deal to keep the snacks that were inside
Makes sense.
The chips. Yeah. So, but it's really good. It reminds me a lot of, if any of you saw the picture from the 90s called Smoke Signals.
Oh God, great movie.
Yeah, it's really good. There's actually another film in the 90s called Dance Me Outside that's basically impossible to find anywhere. Not as good. But it's interesting because it really kind of captures that vibe. Smoke Signals I really liked because it was based on Sherman Alexi's grouping of short stories, for lack of a better term, called maybe one of the best titles I've ever heard, The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fist Fight in Heaven. And it really has that vibe of just kind of life on a reservation as kind of a outsider to some extent in your own world, and kind of this weird moment where certain things that they're keeping alive from their own tradition and and their own history, and how that kind of mingles with the modern world. It's but so far there's only been 4 episodes out. They're half an hour each, so that's not a huge time commitment, but I really do recommend that show. It's really good.
Is it funny? Is it a comedy?
Yeah.
Because the trailer I saw looked funny.
Well, it is one of those things where there's definitely a lot of humor in it, but then there's also a lot of like pathos and trauma and what have you. I mean, it's just obviously it's hard to just have a real rollicking comedy when it's
a drama
based on the modern. Yeah,
no, that's created by the guy from the Shadows, right? What's that director?
Yeah.
Tiki.
Yeah.
So it's
because he's correct me if I'm wrong, but he's like Maori, right? He's from New Zealand.
He's a Maori Jewish guy.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's an interesting mix there, and which also the moment you say Maori, you got to say, once we're warriors. I'll just leave it.
Oh God, that's a fantastic movie, and the sequel wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Actually, but
that guy's popping up in a lot of different places now.
Yeah,
he's a talented guy.
Yeah,
he's very busy.
Talented.
Good. All right, Debbie and Sean.
Well, Debbie and I didn't watch much together, whole movies, because moving in and out. We did watch one that was weird called Saratoga Trunk, starring Ingrid Bergman and Gary Cooper. What was weird about it is it's sort of a film that tried to follow like an evil woman trying to manipulate men and the good Gone with the Wind thing. But they had this English actress, Flora Robeson, playing the role of the maid in blackface. Really bad blackface too. And this was 1946, so it was really kind of shocking. And she was nominated for the Oscar for it, but that was really weird. But one film that we did sit down and watch together, other than Dogma, was The Prophecy, Gregory Wyden, Bad Angel movie.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, if you watch that, you'll see a lot of what shows up in Prophecy later. I mean, up in like Dogma later about the angels and their resentment.
That's Christopher Walken in that one, right?
Oh, yeah. The original one.
Eric Stoltz.
Yeah, Eric Stoltz and Christopher Walken. And Christopher Walken is always fun to watch.
Yeah.
But he's exceptionally fun to watch in this movie. He's got a really white face.
Sean, do you have a imitation of Christopher Walken?
I don't. I wish I did. Sometimes I can do it, but it's a hard one for me to do. I do like him.
Adam Goldberg's in it too. There's a lot of There's a really good cast. Viggo Mortensen plays Satan.
Jesus.
You know,
Elias Koteas is in it as well. Who I am anything with that guy in it, I'm watching. So
this is
Crash.
Absolutely fantastic.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
horror film.
Yes, Casey Jones.
Yeah, he was.
You know, so if you haven't seen it, it is a horror movie.
Now, did you watch that in conjunction with Dogma, before Dogma? When did you watch that?
We're all over the Bad Angels because
we're all over Bad Angels.
What are you doing? Was it research? What were you doing?
No, this is after.
Any excuse.
This is afterwards. And what I was going to say is I took a real deep dive into C.S. Lewis on YouTube, and just it's just great just to see the guy.
The author of the Screw Tape. What was that one? Screw
Tape Letters. But then he has doodles that he's made and explains a lot of what we're going to be watching, what we're discussing tonight.
Oh, good.
Really?
So, yeah.
But I just want to say, any excuse I can get to show Debbie a horror movie, I always take it. Should have watched Legion. There's a lot of really bad angel movies, you know. So
bad angel movies or bad angel movies.
Michael with John Travolta. That was a bad angel.
Is that a bad angel?
That's a bad film. That's about angels.
It's no phenomenon.
Yeah. Legion. I like Legion. Legion
back to back.
Yeah. No. That's a good trope. Bad angels, good trope.
Yeah, the one bad angel that cracks me up is when in the movie Dogma they borrowed from Maleficent and how she was going to lose her angel wings to get into heaven. That's not in the Bible. That's all conjecture from that movie.
Well, I may be picking an angel movie if my name comes up, and I tell you, it won't be in English.
Oh, the Blue Angel? The Blue Angel again?
No, we've already.
Oh, okay.
Is it by Wim Wenders? Maybe
it might be by Wim Wenders.
That's a good one. That's a good angel. That's a good angel film. Unlike the American remake of that film.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Which is what,
that's a bad angel.
What was that one called with Nick Cage?
With Nick Cage,
Dennis Franz, and
Meg Ryan.
I think it's City of Angels. I think that's
City of Angels.
And it was so much a ripoff, and it didn't even credit the Wim Wenders film, but it had like every plot point.
Yeah, I thought that was a copy of that movie. Just
it was a copy, but it was a remake.
Yeah, because that other one is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And it's black and white.
I've seen that.
Not entire
parts of it.
It goes in color later, if you remember.
I guess I don't remember.
Yeah, it has more color than Schindler's List, but that also
has a limit. All right, well, I guess I'm the boy. I went pretty simple here. I watched White Lotus on HBO Max.
That looks fun.
Which is a 6-part series starring Jennifer Coolidge and what's his name from That Thing You Do? Steve Zahn. Connie Britton, Alexandra Daddario. And it's a soap opera. Okay, it's a soap opera about a bunch of people visiting a luxury hotel.
Was that Nicole Kidman? Is that Nicole Kidman?
No, that's 9 Perfect Strangers. That's on Hulu.
So it's 6 shows, about 45 minutes to an hour each. You can stream it pretty quickly. But the standout to me is a guy named Marty Bartlett, which I've missed. Maybe I have seen him in other stuff, but he plays the guy who runs this thing, and the whole show wraps around him and how he handles all the guests. It's like I said, it's basically a soap opera, but it really plugs into a lot of stuff going on now. And Steve Zahn is always great, and it's just a lot of fun. It's like you just shut your brain, watch it. It's fantastic. So
a lot of sex in that.
Not really,
because I heard that that's like, well, if you like Bridgerton or whatever, which we didn't see.
No, it's I haven't seen Bridgerton, but there's not a lot of sex in this one.
Well, we're not going to watch it.
Okay. Let me ask you, because it's a Mike White show, and Mike White has 2 different writing careers going. One is where he writes stuff like Pitch Perfect 3 and School of Rock, fantastic. But he also writes stuff like I don't know if you saw the Laura Dern HBO show Enlightened, which is incredible but very hard to watch. And he did Chuck and Buck about 2 boys remembering some pleasant times they had when they were kids, and it's very different. And so is the White Lotus that kind of dark, or
no? It's dark. It's all driven by conflict, family conflict, and people's expectations and mixed signals and stuff. It's just pretty. It's well done. Tapping into, like I said, tapping into stuff that's going on right now, woke shit and little slight racism, because it's it's about people going to Hawaii and how those people have been exploited. But it's wrapped in this fantasy about going to a fancy hotel for a week. Mike White also did some movie with Ben Stiller, which I heard somebody was talking about this show, and they mentioned some film he did with Ben Stiller, and I don't remember the name of it, but it's supposed to be pretty good as well.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. It's a good watch. I mean, it's fun. It's 6 episodes. It goes by really quick. And, like I said, Steve Zahn is always excellent.
Yeah.
And there is a stunt penis in there. Steve Zahn had to wear a stunt penis.
Well, it is a Mike White show.
Yeah. It's fun.
Like
anyway, you should check it out. Check it out on HBO
we are
Max.
Definitely checking out the stunt penis.
Yes.
Well, every time I say Chuck and Buck, I see Chris smile, because then he knows I'm trying hard not to chant, and I'm not going to chant.
Don't chant.
I don't want to spoil the movie.
Yeah,
no, we don't want to do that.
This writer of Load is much like the writer of today's movie, who does dark stuff and then real, happy Hollywood product. Well,
let's get into it right now. So Drew brought the film tonight, and the film is what, Drew? What did you bring to the table tonight?
The film is 2014's Nightcrawler, starring Jake Gyllenhaal and Rene Russo, written and directed by Tony Gilroy, who happens to be Rene Russo's husband.
Yep.
And this is a tiny little movie that cost about $8 million and has a couple of big names in it because the script is that good. And it is one of my favorite things, as you guys know, which is a directorial debut that is very confident because it deserves to be. And I think it's a really excellent movie.
I'm looking for a job. In fact, I've made up my mind to find a career that I can learn and grow into. Who am I? I'm a hard worker. I set high goals, and I've been told that I'm persistent.
And I'm thinking, television news might just be something I love, as well as something I happen to be good at.
Now, I know that today's work culture no longer caters to the job loyalty that could be promised to earlier generations. What I believe is that good things come to those who work their asses off. And that good people who reach the top of the mountain didn't just fall there. My motto is, if you want to win the lottery, you have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket. You have to make the money to buy a ticket!
By the way, it's
I have to apologize.
Dan Gilroy.
Yeah, I already said Tony. It's his brother. There's 3 Gilroys. There's writers, directors, editors. This is Dan. Dan Gilroy.
Actually, when he gave Tony the script, he thought he wanted Tony to direct it.
Right. I think he decided. He's written a lot of big movies that have done very well, and I think he decided he wasn't quite ready. And I think this is one of those movies. I mean, it must have just fallen out of him because it's so rich and smart and it's really it's got its own thing going on, which is why I like it so much.
It is deeper than Kong Skull Island.
That's true.
Is that a Gilroy script as well?
That is.
Yeah.
He also films he writes when he's not writing this.
He also wrote the story for one of my favorite films when I want to think about our place in the universe as people, as family. It's called Real Steel with Hugh Jackman with boxing robots. And I won't
It's based on Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
It is, but it's got more pathos, and I connected with it more emotionally.
More pathos than the game.
Yes.
I'm going to throw this out here. Kong Skull Island is better than it has any right to be. I remember seeing that movie on HBO and being like, wow. And part of it is its terrific cast. I don't want to get off on that, but I remember just thoroughly enjoying that film as for what it was.
And the way they shot it, that whole Apocalypse Now thing with the
helicopters. You care a lot more about that protagonist than you cared about this protagonist.
That's not true. But okay, give us a little. What goes on in the film, Drew?
Right, so the film is basically about a man named Louis Bloom. He's played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and he is kind of unusual. He's very intense. Jake Gyllenhaal lost, I think, like 30 pounds. So he's pretty gaunt, not like Christian Bale in The Machinist gaunt, but or Matthew McConaughey gaunt, but he's pretty gaunt. And yet he doesn't look weak. He looks very, very intense because he's got those big eyes and he almost never blinks the entire movie. And he essentially is someone with, I would say he has no social skills. Later, I think it would be fair to say he's some kind of psychopath.
Right.
But he wants to earn money. That's it. It's very simple. He wants to find something he can do to earn money. And when you first meet him, he's doing things that aren't really working for him. And then he comes upon a car accident and he finds Bill Paxton, not the actual actor, a character that's being played by Bill Paxton. He is filming this car accident. And essentially, Jake Gyllenhaal's character goes, oh, I think I could do that. And he does. And the movie just takes off.
Well, he finds out he's filming for he's like a stringer. He's a news stringer. So these guys go around and follow accidents and follow police reports, and they videotape the scene and sell it back to the news stations.
Right. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen it. It was actually so intense. I don't think I finished watching it, and I'm blanking on the title of it. But there was a show on Netflix that was a reality show. Just one season, 6 or 8 episodes, where they followed these real guys around that do that. And it was insane. I mean, really,
they're in the film. Those two guys are actually in the film.
Right. I mean, they have it. I would say the movie feels very real because it does, as far as what I've learned about being a stringer and all that kind of stuff. But then when you see the real stuff, I don't even know how you could make a movie that's that insane, because this is probably one of those movies where they thought of things where they said, well, we can't do that because people won't believe it. And some of those things have to be in the Netflix show, because it's really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. He's an anti-hero. I mean, he's not a hero at all. The guy's a scumbag and he's a sociopath. And what the stuff he's doing at the beginning of the movie is petty crime. He's stealing literally fencing and copper. And, he jumps on that guy at the beginning to get his watch. And, and he discovers, but the whole thread is his positive attitude about business and the way he just rattles off business strategies.
He read the SOP on how to be a human.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Debbie's right. He's not really being positive. He's got no social skills at all, and he's got this flat affect the whole movie.
Yeah,
which makes him disturbing in almost any interaction, including when he's in a Mexican restaurant on a date that he starts threatening his date, and you go, wait. Wow, this guy is really as bad as he thinks. He is, to me, he's almost a perfect example of an anti-hero, as an anti-hero is the center of a movie. It's not that he's heroic and then he does bad things. He is completely goal-oriented, and he's so disconnected from his own humanity. I think I don't even know, he does evil things for sure, but I don't even think he fits on the spectrum of good and evil. Like, he doesn't think about morality at all.
He's amoral.
He's amoral, and he's ruthless because of that, but not because he enjoys hurting people, but because he wants to earn money. Because if you want to win the lottery, you got to buy a ticket, and like that that whole thing drives
his goals or nothing. It's his goals or nothing.
But his goals are very specific. He's not telling you in the movie, I want a big house, I want a car, all this kind of stuff. He's like, it's all money. I'm going to earn money. This is how I figure out how to earn money. Well, he did
spend it on a big, nice red car. What was that?
Well, he's a terrible driver. So that alone.
Driver.
He's skilled at it, but I don't like that kind of driving on public streets. I resented that.
And he did most of his own driving, I read.
Oh, did he really? I didn't see that.
Well, we didn't. Let's talk about, Jake Gyllenhaal plays the lead. Then you got Riz Ahmed as the kid he hires as an intern. And that interview he does in the diner is it's brutal.
But it's also very funny.
Well, it is, because
funny.
The original character was supposed to be like a druggie, like a kind of high kid all the time. And Rez, I guess, came in and played it like he did, which is completely at his wit's end. And he's, afraid of everything, and he doesn't have a place to live.
He played it sad.
And his pathos, you talk about pathos, that kid I mean, it's just I don't know if we want to spoil this. It's kind of
I think we can.
From 2014. I think we can spoil it, Ralph.
Okay. So
if you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back.
Yeah,
because I don't want to take the pleasures of the movie away from you.
It's a weird, like I'm definitely not rooting for his character, Jake Gyllenhaal's character.
I like it at the end when he's like, "You can move up. We're going to make you," and it's sort of like, "Am I going to get a raise?" He goes, "Yes." How much? He goes, "You tell me." And he's like, 150, 100, 100, 70, 75.
Yeah.
And he goes, You got it. And then he's like, I could have gotten more, couldn't I? Yes. Negotiations are over, though.
Jake Gyllenhaal threatened so many people in this film without ever lifting a finger. It was all just talking to them.
But he also played them correctly.
Well, he played everybody. He got everything he wanted, including the girl. I mean, he ends up, it's off screen, but those two have a relationship outside of the relationship they have in the newsroom. Anyway, John and Chris, anything you want to?
Yeah, one of the things, I mean, I like this film. You know, I have a couple of issues with it, and they're just they're more, you know, personal. They're not like issues like I think it's a bad film or it was made poorly. One of the things I think it has a sense of like, and it's okay for a movie to be like this. I think it has a sense of like inevitability about it. Like I didn't find myself surprised at almost anything that happened in the film. And that's okay because that's kind of the character they set up, especially and I love the moment where he's selling the stuff he's just ripped off, you know, the stuff, and he's selling himself like in this real, you know, he's selling himself
years or whatever.
Yeah. And he's selling himself in this really positive way. And, you know, he's thought, I'm a really hard worker and I'm doing this. And the guy just looks at him and he goes, I'm not going to hire a thief.
Right.
And then it kind of clicks. Like it just, everybody in the theater is probably, everybody's watching the movie. It's like, yeah, he's not hiring you because you ripped off all this stuff. You know, he's not going to hire. He might buy stolen goods from you, but it was like, he goes, oh, and it's like a little click in his mind goes off. And Gyllenhaal is brilliant. I mean, he plays this very well. And he has that kind of understated like tension, just constant. Like, you know, at any moment he could just explode on you. Part of that is because you see him exploding on that rental cop at the beginning of the film. But you know, out of nowhere, he just attacks that guy who's bigger than he is. You know, he obviously is not scared that way. But I love that opening bit where he's like, I'm not going to hire a thief. And it was like, when you talk about his lack of social understanding, it's like he had to be told that because it would not
object to it either. He realized yeah. Okay,
because he's a rational, in a weird way. He's like this bizarrely rational guy. Like he's so rational. Like when he's talking to Rene Russo during that scene, he's just laying it out to her in a very simple matter of fact. I am helping your business. Your job is on the line.
That kind of brutal. That's the thing about it. People can't handle brutal honesty like that. Like everything he was saying, including the conversation in the Mexican restaurant about you got the lowest rated news thing. This is why you need what we're doing, you know, and how can you, it's hard to argue that. And she's freaking out because she's, you know, one phone call away from getting fired. So
but it's the whole idea that like he's giving her this brutal honesty, but he is using it in probably one of the more despicable ways possible.
It's all despicable. Everything he does is despicable.
I asked Debbie if she thought that would work on her while we were watching that scene. She said no.
Oh.
That approach wouldn't have worked on her.
Yeah, you know, we got way too much information about your. So are you using movies to woo Debbie? Haven't you already wooed Debbie? I mean, how much more wooing do you need to do?
She needs to be wooed all the time.
Constant wooing.
And deserves to be.
Constant wooing.
I don't know.
You're a bad angel.
I gotta say this about that. You know, this guy is like thinking he's going to affect. I mean, in the real world, nobody's going to take that guy seriously.
I don't. You know, okay.
Really, you think so?
Oh, I thought you were talking about me. That's true with me.
I mean, here, this Rene Russo is. You know, she already has. She's doing this thing. She's already there. She's not going to.
But she's desperate.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Why would she be desperate?
She's going to lose her job.
Her ratings are down. They're going to lose her job. And she figured out. I'm not what she did. She's just as bad as he is.
culpable. But the thing is, like the guy who got the stolen goods from Jake, I mean, those two are culpable, but they don't have to. You hear the music playing, but you don't have to dance.
Well, but that's the whole point of the movie. I think
coming into your field, that your ex.
That's the whole point of the movie, is that people can do things that are terrible, but they can say, I'm distant enough from this. Like I just buy the video. I didn't go and interrupt something as intimate as watching someone die or something like that. And that kind of transactional nature of everything that is what he talks about. So honestly, that's what the movie is about.
Even
that's what the movie says that journalism is about today, TV journalism. That's what the movie says this country is about and how we operate. I mean, you always see every few years an article comes out that says, oh, most CEOs are psychopaths. Well, I mean, that's what this movie is about, that he's unblinking. He's merciless. He triggers dread everywhere he goes.
But here's one thing about the Rene Russo character. And I just want to say it was good to see her again. Yeah. Because this is the first time I had seen her in a theater movie in a while. And I always enjoyed her performances.
She's great.
And all. Yeah. So it was good. It was good to see her again. And that she was married to the director makes a lot of sense. And I thought she was fabulous.
And she looked beautiful.
But the thing is, like, her character, she's like on the lowest rated station in Los Angeles. That means she could go to the top rated station practically anywhere else in the country. You know what I mean? So even though she was the low dog in Los Angeles, she'd be the top dog.
Yeah, but hold on a second. Nobody that comes up through that business says, I made it to LA. I really want to go back to Peoria.
Yeah.
Like that's just not the direction. That's not the direction that anybody in this movie is moving.
People are leaving California in droves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but they're not leaving because they want to be the top dog somewhere else. They might be leaving for other legitimate reasons. But if she loses her job, it's because she hasn't met the numbers.
Yeah.
And Jake Gyllenhaal, they don't explicitly show them having sex, but Jake Gyllenhaal basically says, give it up and I'll give you what you need. And that's that very threatening.
Well, that last scene with the two of them, that last scene is the sexiest scene in the whole movie.
It is, yeah.
Where they're whispering in front of that last video that he brought. You see the profile on those two. It's like, oh my God, they definitely had sex somewhere.
I mean, because that's what it is at the end of the day.
They all got what they needed, except the one kid who didn't. His partner John. You didn't like the film, I guess, or
no? It's not that I didn't like it. I thought his performance was really good because I think the character was a sociopath. I think right away they let you know that this is an unlikable, unredeemable character because he starts off by trying to rip off a fence, then he mugs a guy, then he steals a bicycle to sell it. So the guy right away is a con man and a crook. So with all his positive talk and stuff, what he was really like. And the thing that bothered me about this movie was not his performance, which I thought was brilliant. I really did. I thought it was brilliant. I hated his character to the point that I never have wanted a lead character to die so much as I wanted him to die in this movie because of how callous he was with the other lives, the cops who got shot in the diner, his partner, the way, not so much the way he handled when he went in that house and started filming stuff. But even that, when he hid the fact that he saw the two people that actually did it, he hid that to further his goals.
Yep.
I was like, this guy he's just a bad guy. And for me, what bothered me the most was at the end when nothing happened to him. With all the horrible stuff, like Bill Paxton looks at him and knows this happened because of what he did. He knew it. He figured it out. And Raz, when he's lying there, he set him up to get killed. And he ended up being successful as a result of all the death that he caused. And I just hated that. I wanted him to die so bad. I wanted somebody to kill him.
That's because we all have like the Terminator movie. This guy's a Terminator. If you put him in that movie and he's an unrelenting machine that just goes through the movie and does whatever he wants.
Well,
and they flip the expectations because your movie brain is going, this guy's going to die. He's so horrible. He's going to die. And it turns out he just got more and more successful.
No, I didn't think he was. I wanted him to. I wished he did.
Well, there should be a sequel. There should,
because he was getting away with such awful things, just awful. And first of all, forget, and I know we always got to suspend our disbelief because I like comic book movies, so Ralph will throw that out there. But the fact that the guy is in the house with all those people dead, he gets in there and films it before the cops show up, and the interrogation scene with the cops is 5 minutes long and they let him go. I want to know what planet that would ever happen with that. If someone did what that guy did, would that ever happen with somebody? Never in a billion years.
No, that's another angle that the movie, you can look at the movie, and John, you are going to love this one. There's a way to read this movie that's about, it's a portrayal of the entitlement of white men and how they get what they get.
That's what I got. Drew, at the end of the movie, I said, if you're white in America, you can get away with anything.
You know what, John? And I didn't want to say this. I didn't want to say this, but a con man crook got elected to the presidency of the United States. Joe Biden is
not a con man, Ralph. That is
exactly. So this came out in 2014, and it's showing how people wrap their heads around a guy who's successful. He's successful. I'm not saying I hated the character. I hated what he did to his partner. I hated what he did to Bill Paxton. Everybody. But there was something likable about his just Terminator-like attitude about business, and the fact that he's just going to do whatever he has to do.
See, I didn't find anything about his character likable.
No, he's not. But it's fascinating.
You just said it.
I said he's fascinating to watch.
Yeah. He was.
Now, who saw this movie? Who saw this movie when it came out?
I
never saw it before.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. When I
came out on Halloween, I think.
Yeah. When I first saw this movie, I liked it more than I did this time.
Yeah, it's a Spitfire grill for me because it was cool to see Jake, play this really awesome, especially when it had his hair up.
Yeah.
I love how, like, before he races,
that was like way cool because he sounded like a biker that would go tour France, in his bike. But this time when I watched it,
37 gears though. That's
and the guy's like,
bike has 37 gears.
No.
But he only
won a race. Did he say he won a race with it?
He only stole that bike. He did that to get his video camera for the next.
No, it was noble why he stole the guy's $3,000.
Totally noble.
I'm not. I don't dispute that, Ralph. It was absolutely a noble thing.
But here's my problem.
Watch.
So basically, I don't, because. I've done my studies of sociopaths, as many people have, and they're usually better at imitating human. I don't believe. How old do you think his character was in this film?
That's 35.
You think that old? I didn't think that old. I saw maybe late 20s.
I thought he was like 35. I see when he gets arrested, a guy like that who has been living a life of crime. You were saying he would never have walked out of there,
right?
I can't believe that he had not had
no rap sheet
100 arrests prior to this.
Yeah.
Well, again, he's doing small things, and he's a white man, so he's not going to be as susceptible.
Eventually, you may not get charged, but you'll get. You may not go to jail, but you'll still get arrested. I just can't believe that he just was. As great as he was, I think he was terrific. And this may be the last film I've seen him in, also in the theater, like Rene Russo.
Did you see Prisoners that he was in? Hugh Jackman.
I saw it on video.
Prisoner?
Spider-Man Far From Home. I mean, he was Magneto.
Yeah.
Not Magneto. Mysterio. Excuse me.
Mysterio.
I don't see I see one comic book movie a year, and I didn't see that one. But I just felt, that he was too old to be this so fully functioning at the level he was, at the weird level he was. I think he would have, if he's that much of a sociopath, he would have been better at imitating normal humans by then. Had this character been 23 to 25, I'm not,
splitting hairs.
I am splitting hairs, but I think he's a little too old, looked a little.
Well, Rene Russo's character said that she was twice his age. So
yeah.
How old is Rene Russo?
She got to be in her 40s.
Well, in 2000, no, she was older than that in 2014.
Yeah, I thought she was
older than 40. She's probably in her mid 50s.
I mean, there's it's
that's a quibble, but to me, that's what I was really thinking about while I was watching it. I really liked the film.
I mean,
I knew the guy died, the partner died, but I forgot. I forgot what excuse he would use.
He didn't die of COVID. I mean, he was murdered.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I forgot exactly, all the details and all, but I knew the arc of it because I had seen it. But
but do you think the movie? Okay, so we have the character of Jake, who's psychopath, sociopath, whatever. Do you think they were hitting us over the head too much about if it bleeds, it leads?
No.
How the news
That's
is corrupted.
100% true.
That part of it, that's the part of the story I really liked.
That she would be that maniacal about what she wanted to put on.
I did. I like that.
Yeah.
I did like
that. Rung a little bit too
to me, that was
on my head.
It was more about the news and what they will put on and what people will watch. I like that part of the story. That's like, it's like some of the stuff. I don't know. You know what? My problem is with his character. It's like some of the stuff. I think it would have been better if he wasn't a murderer. I think it would have been a really interesting story on its own without that part of it. Because it just made him so unlikable to me.
Well, but I know, but that's without that.
He's
what do
an
you got?
anti-hero.
Gotta,
I mean, I don't think
an anti-hero. Bateman in American Psycho was an anti-hero, and I liked him better than Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, he was killing more people than Jake.
Tell me more.
But
I wish I had
Newsies. That's right. He was in Newsies.
I got to address that issue about people wanting to see that stuff on the news. Okay, that gory stuff.
Yeah.
I think that last night I had a bizarre occurrence last night. I'm driving home from a poker game, and it was late. It was maybe 11 o'clock. And on 95, coming up 95.
Wait a minute. Can we go back to you were coming home from a poker game at 11 o'clock? I want to hear more about that.
Well, it's just a poker
Did you win, baby?
I was close to winning. But,
she was victory adjacent.
All right, so you're coming home on 95.
Yeah, there was a six-car pileup, including a truck.
Oh.
Truck.
Did you take your camera out? Did you videotape it?
Well, that's what I asked her. She called me to say what was going on.
Oh my God. So I'm driving ahead of all the traffic, right? And I did have 2 drinks last night. So this did occur in my head, but I'm coming up away from the traffic, go all the way to Moravia, you know where that is. And
the people in Afghanistan who are
just
watching
to see if I could help with first aid, because it just had occurred.
Oh,
none of the police came, none of the fire trucks or anything yet. So I came over to the side of the road, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be ugly. This is going to be bad, you know. And that was scary. I mean, I know first aid, but you know what I mean. I know myself, and I would jump right in there to put a tourniquet on somebody if they needed it or whatever. And I came up on this guy, and he was turned around completely. And I said, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "Are you my mom?" I said, "No." But that feeling that I think most people, I think most people, when they come upon something like that is a scary feeling that you got to go in there. It's not that you're looking for gore, but you got to help. You know,
she should have filmed it.
So what is that? Well, okay, I get it.
They're looking to find, you know, but they're interested. Can they help? That's why, you know, would you help somebody in going through that?
Well, that's a complete opposite of this character. I mean, the thing is, he doesn't want to guest footage for the news. He doesn't want to work. He wants to earn money. And he finds that he can earn money doing this. And since he's so single-minded, I don't think he even means to be ruthless. He just is, because he only has one goal.
The Terminator.
That makes him fearless. Yeah, it's funny you say the Terminator thing, because this is also part of a tradition of movies with LA at night. Yeah. Terminator is one of those movies, but I mean, this definitely is on a continuum with Michael Mann's Heat and Collateral and stuff like that. I mean, the city really is the whole the atmosphere of the whole movie is very absorbing. Almost all of it was shot at night, and I remember we were talking about seeing it in the theater when they had that scene where he's going into the house before the police arrive. That was the most suspenseful thing I had seen in the theater in years. I mean, it just really cranked it up. So it wasn't exactly the same watching it at home, but it's funny because, like you said, like, I'm not rooting for him, but you still want to see what happens. You still see him as a character that we're following that's in danger. The same way that if you watch Psycho, you watch the main character get murdered, and then when the guy that murdered her, when Norman Bates is trying to get rid of her body and the car starts to sink, and then it stops, you and Norman Bates go, oh, and then it keeps sinking, and you and Norman Bates go, oh, I'm so relieved. You just cared about her 5 minutes ago.
Was showing, talking about is Debbie had a human reaction.
Right, he doesn't have that.
He has no human reaction.
He's a sociopath.
whatsoever.
Yeah, but
Yes,
it's like Drew's saying, for him, it's just about money. It's just a way to make money, and he's moving
Chris,
bodies, he's dragging bodies around.
Chris wanted
to get a better
say something.
shot.
Chris, what did you want to say? You wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just have two things. One directly related to the film, one not so much. You know, when you talk about the whole "if it bleeds, it leads," my cousin was actually a cameraman at CNN back in the 90s, in the early 90s, maybe even late 80s, actually, when CNN was just really starting to have a presence. And he did tell me once that, like, one of the things that he found a little off-putting there was the maybe not happiness, but the electricity and the excitement in the air when something terrible happened. Whether it was a flood or a big fire, there was an electricity. There was an intensity. Not necessarily, hey, let's go get it, it's awesome, but that there was that. The other part about the film is, and like I mentioned before about how to me, I knew he wasn't going to get caught. I knew he was not going to die because there's this inevitability, and underneath all of his, psychopathy or whatever you want to call it, his disassociation from the rest of humanity. There is this thing about, and I think it's funny, Drew, how you mentioned CEOs being psychopaths and things like that. There is a real kind of criticism, or let's take a hard look at capitalism and this whole do whatever it takes to win / succeed no matter what, and I think that is and it's funny because in this movie, he's like, they layer on the extra level of him being like having no ability to really associate in any real human way with people. But if they had twisted it just a few degrees and made him just a really charming guy, who was really great with people, who just did this thing in this, who just stumbled upon this in this weird way. In many ways, it is a success story, and it's about him being, a winner at all costs. And,
America loves a winner at all costs. That's part of the thing.
But that's part of the thing.
We love it. And, it's funny, you break down the CEO thing. We've come to find out that CEOs are making 400% more than their people who are working for them. And he's got his kid working for him who's begging for $75 a night that he's going to make. And that Jake is making money hand over fist because he's getting checks every night from Rene Russo. I mean, it's a good microcosm of capitalism and news.
Even at the end, those three guys he hired, well, I think it was a woman and
one woman in there. Yeah.
Corporation.
They're interns too. They've got the shirts, they've got the trucks, but he's not, they're interns.
Not paying.
But
there's a lot of undercurrents in this film that point to a lot of different places, I think.
And don't get me wrong.
You got to have money to buy a ticket to win the lottery. There's his philosophy. It's by luck. You're going to get ahead through like.
He's not luck. He's like, it's hard work for him.
Everyone goes way to the top. Whatever.
Here's one thing that no one mentions, is how he's human enough, self-aware. Like when he talks to his assistant, like before Ralph disappeared.
I'm losing my whole.
He says what he says to him when he's threatening his guy to get out. You think I'm socially awkward with people. What if I'm not socially awkward? What if I just hate them?
Right.
He's self-aware enough to know that he isn't just awkward, that he hates them.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes to get him out.
Because he also knows that it doesn't matter. People don't have to like you to succeed. That's the whole thing.
Right.
I mean, to me, this is one of the great American movies, the way that there's great American novels where you watch someone, in the spirit of American individualism and working hard and achieving something. And there's lots of people that, they write the great American novel. They want to write the great American novel. And this movie, like those kinds of books, they interrogate the nature of our country and of who we are as people. And the answers that this movie comes up with are very dark. And they basically say that our culture is transactional and it's devoid of all morality. In fact, success doesn't come to people who include empathy in that calculus. Right. Because he doesn't care about anything except essentially, in this case, winning. And so he doesn't care who he stomps over. And when at the end, that erotic scene, Rene Russo definitely is aroused by it. I don't know if he's aroused or if he's just playing along, because he's made people very excited about what he's selling them the whole movie. I mean, when he's bringing her footage the first time, she's like, "Oh,
he loved the compliment. He loved the compliment. But I'm glad.
That's the addiction of power. What some people do for that, that's ego maniacal.
Right, but he doesn't.
Power.
He doesn't feel any of that. He just wants to win. I don't think he goes home. I don't even know if he enjoys it. He just says this is success. Like you don't see him throughout the movie getting a better place to live and things like that as a priority. He wants to expand the business, get more people in the business. When he's sitting in the diner interviewing Riz Ahmed, it's like he's sitting in the boardroom.
Yeah.
And that's what that's how he lives it. That's the most important thing to him. And so in some ways the movie is a great tragedy. It's also a great dark comedy. It's also kind of a horror movie. It's also a really intense thriller. I mean, it's a lot of different stuff, but it's very, very, very American. And I think that's both a compliment to the kind of filmmaking, and also I think provides an interesting perspective on, what this country is about, because this is not an unrealistic story at all.
So Ralph,
it's some aspects of some people who has possibly Asperger's or some kind of on the spectrum.
Well, it's hyper, it's hyper,
sure.
But
if you look at him as
what it's saying, but what it's saying is this. You're right. This is America at 2014 at the time. You could probably say it even more. And take it or leave it. This is the way it is. And that scene at the end, they both won. Rene Russo won, and he won.
Temporarily, I would like to see the sequel to this film. Absolutely.
I don't know if there will be. I love the last scene, the way the director described, because it's a shot that cranes up as the trucks are going out into LA. And he basically said it's like a virus spreading. That this thing was going to spread, and more and more people are going to get sucked into his life, and it was going to become a disease or whatever. But
because he can afford a lot of people at $30 a night.
Exactly. I mean, he's got it all figured out.
Then there's not the end of his story. I mean, you never know what's going to happen to people like that. Have no morality. Are they really going to win? You think they're
all the time.
They're winning by what their standards of winning are.
No.
Right.
They're
win
not
all the time.
They're put in positions of power all the time. Always.
At the very end of the story, they're not going to win.
Well, it's sort of like.
I mean, the very, very end. What do you mean? Very, very end, or
the very end and the very beginning. They're not.
What does that mean when they're dead?
What?
Did you have a couple of drinks before the podcast?
I had a.
You're talking
what is
about
that? What is that?
Some punishment.
Grigio.
Nice. John, are you going to just keep smiling? Or are you going to respond to some of these things?
No, I'm just I'm fascinated by everyone's opinion. I respect it. I don't agree with it, but I respect it.
Well, I tell you, I think he will definitely. People can only pretend to be human beings for so long. You know what
talking about? About like he's real. I mean, it's
but I mean his character in a real world. Eventually, someone he will.
He's gonna screw somebody over. They're gonna get.
I don't know. I'm looking around now. I hate to. I'm not going to keep bringing it up, but I'm looking at people now who are keep going, and they're psychopaths, and they're but they keep going. What?
Let them go do their thing, man. Because sometimes there's come up and.
I just think
you know
movie,
what
the baseline of this film is pretty strong, and it's amazing. We're getting more meaning out of this conversation from this one film, which shows how powerful the film I think is.
You know what? I thought this guy was also the guy who did Killing Them Softly.
No, different guy.
No, it was but for some reason, because I had just watched that and I'm like, wait a minute, this is the same guy, but it wasn't.
Oh, that's
but
another.
The themes are very similar.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
how about this? Ghost. When that evil guy was killed, Patrick Swayze. What happened to him at the end of his life?
They all get dragged up, but that was Chris. You were going to send of Killing Them Softly as a whole screed on Capitalism.
Well, the thing is, it's funny because when I watched this film, Killing Them Softly, especially the final line in that movie where he's like, "America is a business now." Effing
give me my effing money, right? Effing pay me,
he's like,
that's Brad Pitt, by the way.
And he says that, and anyway, the point is that like, and while and let me be clear, I believe that capitalism is is a good thing. I believe that,
Greed.
it doesn't, it actually, there's a lot to it, but it rewards people for hard work in most cases, but not in all cases. In fact, a lot of people can work their whole lives and never get any farther than they were when they started. I think certain people get, it's great for certain people as opposed to others. But at the same time, I'm going to throw this out here. And don't get me wrong. I understand we have tons and tons of social. Oh my God. I can't believe I was just getting off into some kind of weird political thing. Anyway, sorry, I'm going to stop. But
no, continue, please.
Yeah, why? The movie is very political.
Let's get into the sexual realm.
I was just going to say essentially this. It's like, I've read things like, The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged those kinds of things. And yeah, I know I spent a lot of time on that last one too. The point being is that,
it's long.
The kind of idea that Ayn Rand was putting forth, I figure this guy probably read a lot of Ayn Rand, if he read anything, right?
Maybe.
He was truly like, hey, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to do my thing. And if anyone gets in the way, if I do it better than anyone else, I'm going to push everyone out of the way. And there's an element. Now it's hypercharged, right? But at the same time, it's like he's this ultimate, he's always talking in business terms. He's always talking, you took away my negotiating power and all this kind of stuff. And he's talking in all these business terms. And I think that rightly or wrongly, I think that's what the movie is trying to do. It's trying to, hold up a mirror or a light to that attitude that a lot of people have. And, I've seen it in the jobs that I've had. I've never been a salesperson, but I've worked with plenty of salespeople. And I see guys do things that make me go, you just lied to that guy. You straight up lied to them to make a sale. You told them it could do something and it can't. And since I'm on the other side of things, like the management side, like the account management side, I'm like, now I've got to fix it. And so there have been times I look at that and it's obviously a much smaller, lower level than this. Some of these guys, they were not, they were perfectly nice people, but pushed to a certain limit where they had to make their numbers. They did whatever they did to make their numbers.
That's what the whole movie is saying. Bloom does not succeed by being better than everybody else. He succeeds by sabotaging your van and blackmailing you and breaking the law and dragging bodies around and stuff. And that's what makes success happen. And like that the movie is
everybody except the cops enable him to one degree or
well, even
the guy that won't hire him,
like you were saying earlier,
illegal stuff.
Everybody around him is complicit, including his partner, the kid who ends up getting killed. Because the whole time he's the moral center. He's going, you can't do this. We can't do this. Why? But every time he'd get up, he'd take the camera and do what he had to do. Right. And he did whatever Jake told him. Now, he threatened him a couple of times. Literally threatened him with violence. Never lifted a finger, but got the message across. And everybody was complicit because everybody needed money. The kid needed money to get out of the garage. Rene Russo needed it to keep her position. Everybody around him needed the money that he was making, and they all become complicit. Now, my question is, based on what I said, the director said about a virus going out, I think his attitude is negative about. He's trying to say something about American capitalism and the news media and all that, and using using Jake's crazy sociopathy as a way to say that. And I think he said what he had to say.
Well, Ralph, let's look at one thing. Even the editors were complicit.
They're all
like at the one time. There's that one scene, and he's sitting there. And he turns to the video editor and they share clans.
Right. No, that editor was responsible for a couple of things going on too. So
and I'll tell you one thing I really loved was when she was guiding the anchors. Constantly say like, hit it again, hit the violence, hit the fear, hit the violence.
It shows how beautifully they just flow right in. That's a great scene.
And that's a skill. And that's a skill. And they really do that. They really do.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I don't know. Anybody else have anything else?
You guys have interesting jobs being editors because there's so much to this film that you could comment on. You know what I mean? Just
listen. I was digging all the technical, the first camera he got to the second camera that Bill Paxton had. There was a lot of cool stuff going on, and this is the early days of Dropbox and FTP sites and all that stuff that Bill Paxton was bringing up. It's always fun to see that tech a few years later. But some of the stuff he was shooting with that little camera he had would never look as good as it looked in the thing. I mean, that's part of the fakery of it all. But that scene, his godfather shot the film. He was a director of photography. And it was his godfather that did that last scene at the end of him sitting at the anchor desk.
Yeah.
He just did that as a lark. He goes, let me put Jake at the desk and let's get some creepy shots of him sitting in front of the big LA mural thing that was back there.
It looks so real on TV.
Looks so real. Yeah.
Right.
And the Gilroys, I'm a big fan of Michael Clayton, which I think was edited by the same guy, directed by, I think, Tony. They just really, they got their finger on a lot of stuff, and it's fun to watch.
To me, that line, it looks so real on TV is so resonates, because have any of you been to a concert like right before COVID closed them all? And you'll see it's like half the people there are watching it. They're watching it through their phone.
Listen, I don't want to bring it up again, but the thing that happened on January 6th, what you heard a lot of people saying as they were walking around, where they were going, this is like a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like we're on a movie. And you think about all the kids now who are just videotaping from the minute they're born right up until they're, we're going to have so much footage. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, but it's like the band is right literally in front of you.
I know, but I mean,
and you're watching them through your phone.
But that's the whole idea. It's not real until you see it on TV. I mean, there is that. Like, even when I do a show for National Geographic, if I see my credit in the room, I don't care. But if I see it on TV, that means, it's out there. So it's
they give you credits. My division never gets credits.
Well, they're only up for like 2.5 seconds, but it's there. Whatever. Anyway, anything else before we rate this puppy?
I do want to say one thing. Bill Paxton, an American treasure, lost too soon. There are so many roles that he's in that when he's in them, you're like, well, nobody else could do this. Yeah. Across all kinds of, whether it's Aliens or A Simple Plan or Edge of Tomorrow or this movie. It's not a big role, but you remember it, and it's a Bill Paxton role. And he's one of the great pleasures of this movie.
Yeah, he was a treasure. Yeah. So rest in peace.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I had anything, it's interesting to me, Drew, that you found this to be like a real thriller of a film. You've mentioned that a couple of times. Mm-hmm. For me, and maybe it's just because I kind of knew what was going on. I knew the film. I'd read about it and stuff like that before I had seen it. I did not see it in the theater. Obviously, I just watched it. But for me, it was like, and I've come back to this a couple of times, that it was like, they wrote it. He had what he wanted to say about the news media, about capitalism. He was going to use this. And there was an inevitability that, for me, quite honestly, sapped almost any tension out of the film. To me, it just felt like, we're on this train. I know where it's going.
Right.
And that's probably my only real criticism of the movie.
Yeah, it's funny. I
was like, he's not going to get into a car accident.
When I heard about this film,
he's going to get away with this because that's what
I had the same reaction. John had the reaction when he found out this was Nightcrawler, the title, that this is more in line with the cult movie thing we do. Because when I remember this thing coming out, I thought it was going to be a freak show. Nightcrawler, Jake Gyllenhaal, crazy. And that first scene you mentioned where he jumps on the guy kind of set up that something bad's going to happen. But he was so subtle about the way bad things happen, kind of subtle. He never did anything. He manipulated situations to make other people die, short of cutting the brake lines in that van.
Cutting the brakes really wasn't subtle.
I guess that's pretty.
I wouldn't call that
that's
subtle.
not very subtle.
I think like if you don't find a movie suspenseful, I mean, everybody reacts differently, but to me, I knew we were doomed because that's what the movie is saying. But I think for me personally, writing the suspense to that point was also completely suffused with dread. And dread is a thing that I love in movies. If you can pull off that atmosphere, I find it's very absorbing. It can be any genre. And so it really was, in a way, the whole watching a car accident thing. Yeah. And you know what you're going to see, but you're going to look anyway. And I love that line. The deliberate vibe of the movie.
He did that line at the end of the interrogation where he looks up into the camera and says, I guess I'm the last person you don't want to see.
Yeah, if you see me, like the worst day of your life.
Yes, you're not having a good day. Yeah. And he looks up at the security camera and says, that's in black and white. It's pretty strong. Unlike the Joker. I mean, you think about the Joker that came out, the Todd Phillips film. I'm just saying, but that's
I
again,
don't think about that.
Nihilism and all this stuff wrapped in a human being. And that's what I think Jake Gyllenhaal kind of brought to the table.
No, I thought it was King of Comedy and Taxi Driver wrapped into a sense of inevitability.
Okay.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because I read some articles about Dan Gilroy, and apparently he's been trying to make some version of this movie for many years, like back into the 80s. And he wanted to make a movie about this photographer from New York in the 40s called YKY. Yeah. YKY just took really incredible photographs of real life, often horrible things of New York at night. And so he was trying to make that into a movie. And then I think it was called The Public Eye.
Yeah, Joe Pesci.
It was a little too similar. And then he spent several more decades, which usually isn't good. That's how you get Gangs of New York, if you let it cook too long. But he spent several more decades being influenced by movies like King of Comedy and Taxi Driver and What's That Vibe That I Want. And he made a movie that I think is definitely in that tradition. But it is interesting that it was inspired by a real man who did real things to create these real images at any cost. So,
yeah.
Oh. I knew Nightcrawlers, it was going to be creepy like that, But
that's the actual name. It's funny because that's the name of the guys who run around and shoot.
Right.
Really? It's true.
Yeah. They call them Nightcrawlers.
I didn't
They're
know.
not just worms anymore.
Yeah. So, all right, let's rate it. Sean and Debbie.
Loved it.
It's a Yippee-Ki-Yay. Yeah, thank you. Okay. John?
Barrels or thumbs up.
I give it a Yippee-Ki-Yay. Meh. I thought the performance was great, but that's what I would watch it for. Just for his performance. He was great in
it. This is new. We've never done, at least I've never been.
Well, it's new for you. It's either Yippee-Ki-Yay, Yippee-Ki-Nay, or Yippee-Ki,
Meh.
I'm going to go with Yippee-Ki. Yay.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Don't do the thing at the end though, Chris, with your high voice. Don't do that. That wasn't, no. I don't. Yippee-Ki-Yay.
That's his thing. I say Yippee-Ki-Yay. I'm assuming Drew's a Yippee-Ki-Yay since he brought it, but
good guess.
Yeah.
Good guess.
It doesn't always work like that.
Yeah. So a good film. I think it's
absolutely down with capitalism.
I saw a lot of reviews on this, a lot of nines out of 10s, 10s out of 10s. So, all right, here we go. We're going to do a little for the next show. So
look at Ralph. Girl, look at that. Ralph's on there again.
So I got to drop Chris. Got to drop Drew.
Yeah, and you.
Nope, I'm in.
Yeah, that's not fair.
So there you go. Fair as
that's capitalism for you.
It's his
there
show.
You go.
No, that's dictatorship. Is what that is.
They're not mutually exclusive.
He's going to bring that Angel movie he talked about. I think.
Possibly. There's one other possible choice. I got to check and see if that Angel movie is readily streamable.
Okay.
But I'm also thinking maybe a classic from the the late 30s or very.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, you got a little time to tell us. Just give us a heads up and let us know.
On HBO Max. So everyone have HBO Max.
They have a very deep catalog. I mean,
they do. Their hubs are great.
Yeah, all that Warner stuff.
Good.
So, all right, folks. Good job, Drew. Nice film.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you in a little bit. Everybody, what's that?
Great discussion. I thought.
Yep, it was. Everybody have a safe couple of weeks, a week, whatever, and we'll see you back in the next one.